Hey, what's up guys, Brian here, coming to you with my very first MTG deck tech type video. This one's going to be on my EDH deck. It's also my main deck. Keep in mind, I only play casually with some friends of mine out of the college. So, as far as how competitive the deck is, it may not be what you're used to seeing. I've also never actually seen a professionally built EDH deck. I've just kind of taken what cards I had and what cards I found that I liked, and I put them together in a way that actually does run somewhat effectively. I'll try to get some videos recorded of me using this. The theme of it is a Bolas dragon, blue, black, red type deck, or red, blue, black deck. And like I said, it actually does function somewhat well, considering. I'm going to go ahead and turn my computer's audio off, that way nothing goes through, and I don't get sued for copyright or anything. Alright, so starting out, obviously we have Bolas as the commander. I do occasionally swap out Bolas and Croesus for commander depending on the deck I'm playing. If I'm playing something that's extremely quick, I don't want an 8-drop for a commander. So Croesus is 6-drop with a similar ability equals a better option in some cases. However, I do enjoy using Bolas as the commander because, for one, obviously EDH, Elder Dragon, Highlander, the original Elder Dragons are what you would use. Deal 21 commander damage or 3 hits with an Elder Dragon and it's game over. And his ability to make the opponent discard is just fun. The only Planeswalker in the deck is Bolas Planeswalker. Rarely do I ever use his second ability. I mainly use him for his +3 and his deck 9. Great card, though. I don't need to explain what most of these do to most people. Croesus the Purger. Obvious purposes again. Sometimes he's the commander, and other times he's just another way to make my opponent discard another great dragon. And he is red, blue, black, 6/6 for 6 with the ability to tap a black, tap 2 whenever he deals damage. And then I choose a card color. My opponent discards all cards of their hand of that chosen color. Then we have the two Niv Mizzets. We have Niv Mizzet Firemind and Niv Mizzet Draco Genius. These cards are both great for draw power. I do tend to prefer Firemind since it actually will ping for 1 every single draw phase, and he can combo out with Curiosity, as many of you are familiar with. I rarely use the combo, but it is in here. I do like Niv Mizzet Draco Genius for when I have a lot of mana and I want to just wipe the field, so my opponent has something big on the field and I just want to get it off. I'll generally ping it to death with my Draco Genius. For the multicolored sorceries, or instant sorceries, there's already one. Prophetic Bolt, obviously, it's a 4 damage for 5 that lets me look at the top 4, put one in my hand, and put the rest at the bottom of my library. So not a bad card. For the mono red creatures, Utbar Hellkite, 6/6 for 8. Whenever a dragon I control attacks, put a 6/6 red dragon creature token onto the battlefield. So that would be one of these bad boys. Alright. As much aggression as this deck has to it, it actually is a very useful card. I'm not going to go over explaining what everything does, or this video is going to be way too long. Most of you guys will probably know what it does. Forge Stoker Dragon, Flame Blast Dragon, Scourge of Valkus, Storm Breath Dragon. For a cheaper creature, I do run Furnace Whelp, 2/2 for 4 with Fire Breathing, not bad. Arcwing Dragon, or the Boomerang Dragon. I have a fun little combination I use with this while it's in my deck and another card. It's kind of cheap, but I'll show you what it is here in a second. Dragon's Egg, whenever it dies, put a 2/2 flying dragon with fire breathing on the battlefield, so that right there. Dragon Hatchling, what I feel is a staple for any dragon deck because it's a very cheap creature that can deal a lot of damage late game. Slumbering Dragon kind of acts as a deterrent more than anything. I've noticed when I put Slumbering out, my opponents rarely like to swing at me. So that's the mono red dragons. There are 2 other creatures that are dragon support types. One is Dragon Speaker Shaman, great card. Dragons cost 2 less to cast, 2/2 for 3. And the other one is Zerlian of the Claw. I love using this to search out Arcwing Dragon. That way I can get a quick 4 damage and then put Arcwing back in my hand. So that way I don't have to exile it. So that's a very fun little combination. I do still need Dragon Master Outcast for the deck. So I need to pick one of those up. For the red sorcerers, there's only one, Mizzium Mortars. Great for wiping out my opponent's creatures. Instance, we have Magma Quake. Since everything in the deck, or just about everything in the deck, I think there are those 2 cards that do not have flying right here. But everything else in the deck is a flyer, and only running 1 Planeswalker. Magma Quake is awesome late game for just wiping my opponent's field, since this deck does stack so much mana. Because it is so expensive, I do run 40 land and plenty of mana ramp. Okay, for other burners, we have Lightning Bolt and Shock. Seething Song is some of the mana ramp that I use. I was running Geosurge, but I found it to be too limited. Okay, now we move on into blue spells. There's only 2 blue creatures in the deck. There's Clone, which can obviously be a clone of anything. I usually use it to clone Utvara or Scourge. That way more damage is dealt or more creatures are on the field. Peregrine Drake is amazing. It may be a 2/3 for 5, but it pays for itself, literally. When it comes into play, untap up to 5 lands. So it's great when you're playing by yourself, since he'll pay for himself, or if you're playing with a partner, 2-headed giant, and they need to play something, or they need to play 2 cards in their hand, maybe they only have 5 lands, it's a great card to put out. Let them put out what they need to first, put out your Peregrine, untap their land, and then you can make your plays. And it's not like you get nothing, you still get the creature on the field. So you can benefit yourself or your partner. Index, pretty obvious. Stolen Identity is a great card to cipher this onto something that most people won't want to stop or won't want to block, because it will kill their creatures, and you just keep on casting and casting and casting. Get yourself several Utvara clones with this, and just swarm the field with big monstrous dragons each time you attack. It's a game over pretty quick. Some of the cancels, I do run a few, and actually they should all be stacked here. Let me go ahead and put these all in order. We have Cancel, Spell Rupture, Essence Scatter, Remove Soul, Negate, and Circular Logic. So there is a fair bit of Nope in the deck. Crypsis, just to ensure my creatures do what they need to do. Great way to combo with the Stolen Identity to make sure your creature does get to deal damage, and then just populate your field a little bit. Unsummon, pretty obvious purposes. Curiosity, to either combo with Firemind or just for good draw power. One of the most broken cards in the deck, as far as I'm concerned, is Call to the Kindred. Call to the Kindred is freaking amazing. Put it on one of your dragons. Then at the beginning of your upkeep, look at the top 5 of your library and put out any dragon without paying its mana cost onto the field. Put the rest of the bottom of your library in any order. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is one of the most broken cards in the deck, because it helps me cheat out my big as hell creatures for practically nothing. I put this on Dragon Hatchling and got Utvara. Scourge of Valkus, several just amazing cards. For the blacks, there's only 3 mono black cards in the entire deck. It is kind of splash black. The only black creature is Crypt Angel. Flying for a white, when it comes into play, return target blue or red creature card from your graveyard to your hand. It is a 3/3 for 5, so definitely not bad. Murder. And this needs to leave the deck here. I don't know why it's still in. Stab Wound. Really needs to leave the deck. Not impressed with it. Okay, into my artifacts. I do have 2 artifact creatures. I'll show those off now. First one is Lotus Guardian, the 4/4 for 7 artifact. It is considered a dragon by modern standards. Flying, tap to add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. So, some mana ramp. Kind of expensive, but worth it in the end. Molten Steel, great card. It's a 4/4 for what could be 4. And 4 life. And you can tap either a red or 2 life to give it fire breathing. So, late game, maybe you haven't been hit all that much. Your opponent's down pretty low. You need to swing for game. Pay most of your life if you need to. Or pay however much life you need to if you don't have any red mana. Swing for game. Use Crypsis on it, make it unblockable, more or less. Protection from their creatures. So yeah, that's always fun. Hammer Perforos and Bident of Thassa are the 2 colored artifacts in the deck. Equipment, I do have 3. Moon Silver Spear, yes, I know, it's a dragon deck. Why am I putting out angels? Because it gives first strike to my very large dragons and helps me populate the field with more creatures that do happen to have flying. So, putting out 4/4 angels whenever I attack with the or deal damage with that creature is not a bad thing in the least bit, as far as I'm concerned. Hedron Matrix. Excuse me. My dragons being so expensive, getting +X, where X is its converted mana cost, for 4 to put out and 4 to equip, really isn't all that bad. And Haunted Plate Mail again, +4/+4, 4 to play, 4 to equip, and it gives me something to defend myself with if I happen to control no creatures, so it's not too bad. Mana ramping type artifacts. Okay. Gem of Becoming. I generally use this to search out my my shock land, but it's just 3 to play, tap 3, tap it, sack it, search your library for an island, swamp, and mountain, reveal them, put them in your hand, then shuffle your library. Chromatic Lantern, obvious purposes. Soul Ring, obvious purposes. Gilded Lotus, obvious purposes. Lotus Petal, for obvious purposes. And the next one I do change out with something else when playing a serious game, but when I play casual, I do just play the Black Lotus for the fun of it. Whenever I'm playing an actual game or a very serious game, I'll swap it out with 1,000-Year Elixir, or another card I happen to have that's usable, just so I don't hear anyone complaining. And then to cheat out my big creatures for practically nothing, Quicksilver Amulet is always a great card. Okay, life gain. I do have 4 life gain artifacts: the Demon's Horn, the Dragon's Claw, the Kraken's Eye, and the Elixir of Immortality. Just for some basic life gain. And to take care of the field, I run Brittle Effigy and Nevinyrral's Disc. Alright, so that's all the spells. Moving on into the land, there are 40 land. Most of it is non-basic. I run Terramorphic Expanse and Evolving Wilds. As far as I'm concerned, they're great cards in their own right to stack and search for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped. That way I make sure I get whatever land I need to. And with my Chromatic Lantern, they can serve as just whatever color land I need them to. So, they're quite usable. Transguild Promenade and Mana Confluence to add one of any to my mana pool. For a tricolor deck, it's always handy. Lotus Veil, when it comes into play, sack 2 untapped lands, tap to add 3 of any one color to your mana pool. Croesus' Catacombs, when it comes into play, return a non-rare land to your hand. Then it can add blue, black, or red to your mana pool. Excuse me. I only have 1 red-blue land in here at the moment. That's Sulphur Falls. It's the tap land. 3 snow-covered mountains, just because I think they're pretty. And then I do run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mountains. So 8 basic mountains. For the blue-black lands, we have Watery Grave, Temple of Deceit, Drowned Catacomb, Underground River, Rootwater Depths, Jarl Refuge, and Dimir Guildgate. Then I run 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 basic islands. And for red-black, I run Blood Crypt, Temple of Malice, Dragon Skull Summit, Tresurehorn Sinks, and Rakdos Guildgate. And then I run 3 basic swamps. Okay, so that is my Nicol Bolas EDH deck. I know, it seems like a very expensive deck that wouldn't function, but I'll get some games recorded and show you how well the deck actually runs. I'm loving it so far, and it's just a fun deck to mess around with and beef up. And just have a good time, you know. Like I said, the only time anyone ever complains is when the Black Lotus is in there, which is why it usually gets swapped for the 1,000-Year Elixir. Alright, so I hope you all enjoyed. Leave some feedback down below. By the way, I have only been playing Magic for roughly 2 or 3 months now. So, hopefully I don't get too much hate on it. I'll show my other decks in the future. But I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.